Greetings, everyone. This is Hong Long from Hong Long Wuxia, and welcome to Mail Call. Books, books, books. I got a package from my favorite bookstore, Marrying.com. So let us see what is inside. And this time, I guarantee you, the package is going to be a lot easier to open than those sword boxes were. Oh yeah, look at that. Easy peasy. All right, let's see what we got in here. Oh, we have Monsieur David North's brand new book, Leon Trotsky and the Struggle for Socialism in the 21st Century. If you do not know who David North is, he is not probably, he is definitely the most significant Marxist writer of the second half of the 20th century and the beginning of at least the first quarter of the 21st century. He is the author of this book, The Heritage We Defend, which chronicles the Trotskyist movement and the workers' movement based on the documentary history from 1953 to 1986. And if you do not know, if you're not familiar with that book, you're definitely not familiar with the workers' movement over those years. You're not going to understand where most of the tendencies, the political tendencies and the political parties came from. You're not going to know their origins. And if you don't know their origins, you're not going to know where they're headed. So some people might protest. Some people might protest that the David North being the most significant writer and say, well, what about the structuralists, Horkheimer and Adorno? They're not Marxists. Structuralism has absolutely nothing to do with Marxism. It is, in fact, anti-Marxist. The structuralist divergence from Marxism came about because of their disillusionment with the working class. They came to the belief that the working class no longer had a revolutionary role to play in history or in society. And that is that's basically a repudiation of Marxism and nothing else. And the post-structuralists or the postmodernists, these people are even worse. Their extreme relativism posits the theory that everybody's personal narrative has validity. Yeah, no, that's just not true. If my personal narrative involves a little green dude sitting on my shoulder, orchestrating events around me, according to the postmodernists, hey, you got it. Yeah, no, that's not the case. It's just a load of hokum. Anyway, let us get back to Leon Trotsky and the struggle for socialism in the 21st century. So let us see what it says back here on the back of the book. It says, Leon Trotsky, the theorist of permanent revolution, co-leader with Lenin of the 1917 October Revolution, commander of the Red Army that secured the survival of the Soviet Union in the Civil War of 1918 and 1921, implacable opponent of the Stalinist counter-revolution, and founder of the Fourth International, is unquestionably a towering figure in the history of socialism in the 20th century. It goes on, but Trotsky is not only a historical figure whose political relevance is limited to the circumstances and conditions of his time. Despite the relentless efforts of Stalinists, imperialists, and legions of academics to discredit Trotsky, his political legacy looms over the escalating social struggles of the new century. And here, Mr. Academic, we're looking at you, Robert Service, you fraud and charlatan. In the aftermath of the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the restoration of capitalism in China, and the discrediting of Stalinism and its Maoist variant, Trotskyism emerges as the Marxism and revolutionary socialism of the 21st century. As David North writes, Trotsky's place in history grows ever larger because the basic tendencies and characteristics of contemporary capitalism and imperialism correspond to his analysis of the dynamics of global capitalist crises and the logic of global class struggle. His writings, indispensable for an understanding of the contemporary world, remain as fresh as the day they were written. And then down here below it, it says about, it gives a little blurb on David North, who, in case you forgot, wrote this book, The Heritage We Defend. And if you haven't read it, you definitely should, whether you consider yourself a Trotskyist, a Marxist, or if you are just interested in the history of the workers' movement, you really should get that book and check it out. All right, the blurb on David North says, David North's activity in the international workers and Trotskyist movement as a revolutionary journalist, historian, and political leader spans nearly a half a century. He is presently the chairman of the Socialist Equality Party in the United States and has served as the chairman of the International Editorial Board of the World Socialist website, WSWS.org, since its founding in 1998. North has written extensively on Marxist theory, the history of socialism, and the Fourth International, the geopolitics of U.S. imperialism, and the strategy and program of the present-day struggle for socialism. His books include The Heritage We Defend, in case you've forgotten, and you shouldn't. I'm going to get my eyes to work here. His books include The Heritage We Defend, In Defense of Leon Trotsky, The Russian Revolution and the Unfinished 20th Century, The Frankfurt School, Postmodernism and the Politics of the Pseudo-Left, and A Quarter Century of War, The U.S. Drive for Global Hegemony, 1990 to 2016. I already got an advanced look at the first two chapters of this book, and yeah, this is... I cannot recommend this highly enough. The first chapter is, let me just read off the chapters in the book. Leon Trotsky and the Development of Marxism. An intellectual pygmy denounces Trotsky. The classical Marxism of Leon Trotsky. Trotsky's victory over Stalinism. Why the GPU assassinated Trotsky. Lenin Trotsky and the Marxism of the October Revolution. Trotsky and the Trotskyism of the contemporary world. 80 years of the Fourth International, Leon Trotsky's 4 fateful years in Prinkipo, which was where he was exiled in, Turkey, and Trotsky's last years, 1939 to 1940, and actually Trotsky's last year, not last year's, and Trotsky and the self-determination of Ukraine. So, yeah, I would highly recommend that you get this book. All right, so let us see what is next, shall we? Okay, well, this one I had never heard of before, so I am really highly anticipating reading this. This one is called The Role of Force in History, and it was written by... Dun, dun, dun. Frederick Engels. I really like reading. I really like reading him. It's just, he's just so insightful and so witty. This book, I'd never heard of it before. It is a study of Bismarck's policy of blood and iron. So I'm looking forward to reading that. It also includes 3 chapters from Anti-Düring. If you have not read Anti-Düring, you should. You will, if you're into science, and if you're into science, you don't even have to be into Marxism. If you're just into science, you'll really enjoy that book. But if you also enjoy seeing people getting skewered, you'll definitely like Anti-Düring because he skewers Düring. He was a pseudo-left, pseudo-scientist of the 1800s. All right. Oh. All right, so next we have not a Marxist book. Oh my goodness. But interesting, nonetheless, it is called Radicalism of the American, it is called Radicalism of the American Revolution by Gordon S. Wood. On the back cover, it says that the book is grand in scope, rigorous in its arguments, and elegantly synthesizing 30 years of scholarship. This splendid book is likely to become the definitive work on the social, political, and economic consequences of 1776. In the radicalization of the American Revolution, Gordon S. Wood depicts not just a break with England, but the rejection of an entire way of life, of a society of feudal dependencies, a politics of patronage, and a worldview in which people were divided between the nobility and the herd. He showed how the theories of the country's founders became realities that sometimes baffled and disappointed them. Above all, the Bancroft Prize-winning historian rescues the revolution from abstraction, allowing readers to see it with a true sense of its drama and not a little awe. Gordon S. Wood is an academic. I believe he teaches at Brown. Let's see. He has been, since 1969, he has been at Brown University, where he is presently university professor and professor of history. In his 1970 book, The Creation of the American Republic, was nominated by the National Book Award, and it received the Bancroft and the John H. Dunning Prizes. So I'm kind of looking forward to that too. Mr. Gordon S. Wood's Radicalism of the American Revolution. Next, we have Christophe Van Draaien, Why Are They Back? A historical falsification, political conspiracy, and the return of fascism in Germany. The back of this book says, the appointment of Adolf Hitler in January 1933 as Chancellor of Germany was the outcome not of an election, but of a political conspiracy involving a small number of senior military and government officials headed by General Paul von Hindenburg. Its consequences were World War II, the Holocaust, and the destruction of tens of millions of lives. Nearly 75 years after the fall of the Third Reich, the neo-Nazi right is a major political force in Germany. Why Are They Back? Analyzes the interaction of high-level political conspiracies, media propagandists, and right-wing academics at Berlin's Humboldt University in the present-day resurgence of Nazism and German militarism. Christoph Van Draaien is a leading member of the German Socialist Equality Party. He has played a major role in opposing efforts of prominent professors to relativize the crimes of the Third Reich. His influential 2015 essay, Jörg Babarowski's Falsification of History, published in Wissenschaft oder Kriegspropaganda, is included in this volume. Now that's nice. I'm really looking forward to that. I just watched a video that featured Mr. Christoph Van Draaien going over the basically going over what I just read, the resurgence of fascism in Germany, and how it got a huge impetus from people like Jörg Babarowski and Herbert Münkler, the one proclaiming that, oh, Hitler wasn't a bad guy. He didn't want to talk about the Holocaust when he sat down to eat, and the other one saying that Nazism was just so much bird shit in thousands of years of history. Yeah, these are swine. Just plain and simple swine. Babarowski was like, he attacked physically. They had him on video, and they actually showed it in the video I watched yesterday. You can, I'll post the link down below. I will post the link down below. If you don't speak German, you're not going to get too much out of it because while it does have subtitles, the subtitles are all in German. But if you do understand German, I would highly recommend you watching the video. The Boborowski winds up attacking and hitting one of the students. The guy is just he's just swine. Anyway, I would highly recommend this book too. I would recommend anything that I got. I don't buy I don't buy books that I don't investigate first. So although I don't remember ordering this one. It looks like they swapped one out on me. I'm gonna have to call them up, but I'm not complaining because this is also from Mr. David North. I hadn't heard of this one before, this title. It's called The Economic Crisis and the Return of History. I may have read it as a pamphlet already, but yeah, this was published in 1912, and so I'm guessing this is going to go over the 2008 economic crisis. The chapters in this are the capitalist crisis and the return of history, the economic crisis and the resurgence of class conflict in the U.S., and 70 years since the outbreak of World War II. So the economic crisis and the return of history. And finally, we have a pamphlet from Mr. Tom Carter. I listened to this lecture, so I'm familiar with the contents of this, and I've actually read it before, but now I have a hard copy. Marxism versus critical race theory. I mentioned something about postmodernism earlier. He goes into a little bit more detail, well, a lot more detail, on postmodernism in this, which is postmodernism is also the foundation of CRT. A lot of the right-wing goons running around or proclaim that CRT is Marxism, that postmodernism is Marxism. No, this is not the case. These are all anti-Marxist positions. And Mr. Tom Carter goes over this in fine detail. He presents you with where critical race theory got its beginnings, how it initially got support, and how it spread, and where it stands today. So if you haven't read it, or if you're unfamiliar with it, you hear about it a lot in the news, and you're wondering, well, what the hell is all that? Get this pamphlet. It'll explain it to you. That is it. Yes, I did have something else that I ordered. It was a pamphlet on Marcus Garvey, which is, but it was something else that I've already also read too. But it's highly significant. I knew little to nothing before I read that on Marcus Garvey, and I was shocked, to be honest. I mean, the man's he's a huckster. He's a political huckster. I mean, there's just no. I mean, if you think Al Sharpton's bad, I'm pretty sure that Marcus Garvey is Al Sharpton's god. Anyway, that is it for this mail call. These are the books again. Alrighty then. There are the books again. I would highly recommend you get 1, 2, or all of them, along with, and read them in conjunction with, The Heritage We Defend. And just to be clear, this is not, I was not paid to advertise any of this stuff. Nobody pays me anything. I'm going broke. Anyway, folks, also, I thought, if you look over here, if you look over my shoulder, over here on the other side of this chair, there's a bunch of books. I wanted to do a box opening on that, but I've already opened and read a couple of the books. But it's on the Hollywood blacklist, and since the writer's strike is still going on, I think I'm going to do a short video like this on those books as well. Because I think it would be very important for people to familiarize themselves with some of that history. All right, everybody, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and give it a share. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And until next time, hey, keep reading The Heritage We Defend and the rest of these books. Have a good night.